So the Chiefs play the Titans this week in a game of can the Chiefs stop Derrick Henry, which I think will be a massive challenge for not only the Chiefs, but literally any defense. I don't think it really matters. I think that Derrick Henry can go up against Tampa Bay Buccaneers run defense, and I still think that dude can put up a lot of yards. So for the Chiefs, like injury-wise, you have Anthony Hitchens out, Michael Burton's out, and then you have Chris Jones, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce. All of them should play. Chris Jones coming back should give him a big boost, help him out, and then Travis Kelce, after those couple, nasty shots that he's taken the last few weeks, he should play. And then for the Titans, obviously Taylor Lewan, their offensive lineman, is going to be out after that nasty hit. Monte Rice and Chester Rogers are out for the Titans, and then Julio Jones may or may not play. So if he doesn't, that's going to be a big task for AJ Green to have a massive game by himself, because basically at that point it'll just be Tannehill, Derrick Henry, and AJ Brown if Julio doesn't play. All right, so let's look at the Titans side of the ball. Let's first look at their offense. Their offense has to run through Derrick Henry. Like, that is their best chance to win. And it showed last week against Tennessee. He had a massive game. He had about 150 yards rushing, not six touchdowns. That would be a Alvin Kamara-like game, even though I think Derrick's better than Alvin Kamara. No, he had 150 yards or so and 3 touchdowns, which I predicted. I said he would have 160, and I think it was like 4 yards off. Whatever. But yeah, he had an amazing game against Buffalo. So, I mean, if the Titans offensively want a chance to win, they're going to have to continue to run the ball like they've done every week. Feed Derrick Henry, feed Derrick Henry, feed Derrick Henry, play action, deep pass to whoever, they want to throw to. Like I said, Julio's questionable, but I mean, imagine if he does play, you have Julio and A.J. Brown. They'll have a chance. They'll have 2, great receivers. Tannehill, for him to have a good game, he's going to have to be a little bit better, because that first quarter against Buffalo last week and a little bit of the first half, they benefited last week from short fields, so that the score looks a little bit better, but the play of Ryan Tannehill, he was a bit off for the first little bit of the game. But if he has if he plays like he did in the second half against Buffalo, I think the Titans have a very good chance of beating Kansas City, because they had, in that second half against Buffalo last week on Monday Night Football, he played a very good second half. So if he's going to have to play like that all this week against Kansas City to win. Not because their defense is good, we'll get to that, the Chiefs' defense in a minute, and then we'll get to the Chiefs' offense. But he has to play well, because the Chiefs' offense is so good, and they're so quick and so explosive at scoring, that Tannehill can't have those slow starts like he did, against Buffalo. Because if he does, the Chiefs are already going to hang 21 or 28 points on him, and then you're in for, that takes away Derrick Henry for the game. So they can't have a slow start. So yeah, they're just going to have to, continue to run the ball through Derrick Henry. AJ Brown's going to have a really good game. I think he had an okay game against Buffalo last week. I can't remember, but I think he had a pretty solid game last week. So yeah, their offensive wise, obviously it just runs through Derrick Henry, and that's it. He needs probably 25-30 carries, and that seems low for him, because I think he had a game this year where he had like over 40 touches. So for the Titans, obviously run the ball through Derrick Henry, let him do his thing, let him be King Henry, and their offensive wise, they'll be good. Defensive wise, they need to cause turnovers, take advantage of the Chiefs' biggest weakness this entire season. Their defense is bad, but at some point you have to realize, all right, it's bad, it's not going to prove. The Chiefs' biggest weakness, I think, and them turning the ball over doesn't help the defense either. Those can make the stats of, Chiefs points per game, yards per play, all that, because they're on a short field when you turn the ball over offensively. So for the Titans defense, they need to take advantage of the Chiefs' turnovers. If they do, they're going to have to cause them. Like I said, that's been the Chiefs' biggest issue. And then if they can cause field goals, because I think last week that was the best thing that the Titans did last week, because the Buffalo drived into the red zone a couple times last week, and then they caused them to kick field goals, which is huge against the offenses like Buffalo. And if they can do it against Kansas City or a Tampa Bay, like causing teams like that to kick field goals and not get touchdowns helps your offense so much, because the Bills last week had 2 really good drives going, had to kick field goals for him, and then just like that, Derrick Henry breaks off for like a 76 yard touchdown run, and you're in the lead. So against teams like this, field goals are key. And I think that was that first quarter where the Titans were struggling and they gave up 2 field goals and the Bills were basically dominating them. I think that was a huge difference maker in that game. So if they can hold the Chiefs to field goals, that's going to help out the Titans immensely on both sides of the ball, offense and defense. And then for the final thing, if the Titans won, last week on that 4th and 1 where they stuffed Josh Allen. I mean, he slipped, but yeah, whatever. They stopped him on 4th and 1. If they're going to want to beat the Chiefs, they're going to have to stop them on 4th downs. Now, the Chiefs, they don't get in 4th down situations as much. So defensively, because you'll see here in a second with the Chiefs with, how many times they haven't punted, that they're going to have to try to get the Chiefs into situations where it's, 3rd and long, or 4th and short, make them have to decide to go for it. And if they do go for it, they're going to have to stop them, or cause punts, which is something the Chiefs don't do. So yeah, for the defensive wise, they needed, because the Chiefs are going to probably put up points, put up yards, but they're going to have to contain them into field goals or, like what Buffalo did, make the Chiefs throw short. Like against Buffalo, the Chiefs had every single check down possible, every single short, 5-7 yard pass available, and they didn't take it. So for, the Titans, they're going to have to, make the Chiefs, take those short passes. And I think that'll definitely help them and give them a chance to win. So let's now look at the Chiefs side of the ball. And for the Chiefs on offense, stop turning the ball over. That is the biggest mistake. They've turned the ball over 14 times. And yes, the defense is very, very bad. But come on, you're not helping them. 14 turnovers? Like, you're lucky that a couple of them were at, the end of the half. Like last week against Washington, you're lucky those turnovers came at the end of the half when, they weren't going to be able to do anything with it. But, turning the ball over, it's giving opponents short fields. So for the Chiefs, they need to stop turning the ball over. They really, really need to. Because they can literally do anything they want on offense. They can run the ball. They can pass the ball. They can throw deep. They can throw short. They can get a few, yards on the ground. The Chiefs' offense can do almost anything it wants. Yeah, some defense, like ever since that Tampa Bay game last year, it feels like teams are literally playing, safeties a million yards down the field to prevent Tyreek Hill from getting open deep, McCall Hardman, Robinson, Pringle, all them from getting open deep. But you have the short passes there. And, the Chiefs have playmakers. Tyreek Hill, a playmaker. Travis Kelce, a playmaker. And I think, Demarcus Robinson tries to be a playmaker, but he runs backwards. So that doesn't help. But, give the ball to the playmaker. Tyreek Hill's fast enough. He can out-juke a couple guys. He'll get a few yards, run out of bounds. He'll live to, get the next play. So give the ball to the playmakers. You don't need the deep shot. Sometimes I feel like, Mahomes, as bad as the defense has been playing this year, I think Mahomes has been trying to play hero ball, which I think he's been, okay at. But I feel like he's trying to get like a 17-point touchdown every single drive because he knows his defense is about to give up another 7. Well, last week they played better against Washington. We'll get into that. But I think Mahomes knows, like, hey, this defense hasn't been playing the best. It has room to improve. I need to score every single drive because if I don't, the defense has not very many turnovers this year. And so I think the thing is Mahomes is just trying to do a lot for this team, which you have to appreciate. Yeah, some of the interceptions have been bad, like last week against Washington. And then I think he had another one against the Ravens that was ill-advised. But you have to appreciate a guy who's going to go all out every single play, try to get his team in the best situation possible to win the game. But I think offensively, if the Chiefs eliminate the turnovers, they'll be fine. They're averaging almost what? They're averaging like over 3 points a drive, 3.5, almost 4 points a drive. That's impressive. And, that's very, very good. Like, that's the top in the NFL. They're like 0.7 or 0.8 or almost a full point ahead of the next team. So, if the Chiefs didn't turn the ball over, in all honesty, they might be 5-1, maybe 6-0 right now. That Buffalo game is the one that's a little hit or miss, but I still think they didn't turn the ball over against Buffalo, maybe they have a chance. I really do, because at the point where they were driving and threw another interception, I think the game was still relatively within reach of the Chiefs to come back to it. So turnovers are the, biggest thing. And then another thing they can take advantage of is the fact with them not being able to do whatever they want, they've only punted the ball 10 times. So on almost every drive that they don't turn the ball over, they're getting either a field goal or a touchdown. So the Chiefs offense is still, I think it's like top 3. Like even with 14 turnovers, the Chiefs offense is still top 3 in the NFL. The Chiefs are the only team that can beat themselves this year. They've shown potential, and not even potential. They've shown that they're a great football team. They did it in the second half against Washington. They could not be stopped in the second half against Washington. Like Mahomes went, crazy in that second half. So yeah, the Chiefs are the only ones that can beat themselves. And then let's get into a little bit more with certain players. Like with Clyde out, I think Darrell Williams last week had a very solid game. I think I was one of them on Twitter. If you check my Twitter timeline, you'll see that I was very high. I was like, Darrell Williams, RB1, he's going to take over Clyde. That's not actually true. He had a very good game for a one-off game, and I was impressed. But yeah, Clyde definitely, with Clyde being out and then Darrell, showing potential of being good. As I mentioned on my Twitter timeline, I was saying like, oh, he's RB1, he should be. He's not. Clyde is better. I think we were just, in the moment, the Clyde turnovers. Oh, come on, those turnovers suck. So I think, for Darrell, I think he's going to be very good for a while Clyde's out. I think, Darrell's making the most of every opportunity, and I think he's going to have, maybe get him involved even more than they did last week. Let him run the ball more. And I think Darrell is a very solid backup for Clyde, and I think he's, he held his own last week, had a very good game. I don't think he's better than Clyde, because Clyde is a very, very strong runner. But we got a little bit into the hype, his first start in a while. So we're just like, all right, yeah, Darrell. So, but yeah, I think he played very good, and against Washington last week. So I think they should give him a few more, attempts this week, and I think he'll make the most of it. He's very good at making most of any opportunity that he's given. And then, like I said, Mahomes is having a great season, and especially like if you look at last week, that perfect second half against Washington, like they literally couldn't be stopped. They shut down, Washington, only gave up 76 yards of offense to Washington, held them to 0 points, and we'll get more into that in the defensive side. Like, offensively, they scored, 21 unanswered points in the second half. Mahomes is having a great season if you take away the turnovers. He leads the league in I don't think he leads the league in interceptions. I still think that's Zach Wilson, but he leads the league in touchdown passes, which, that seems to be getting overlooked by everybody. It's like, yeah, he's turning the ball over, but I still think he's having a fantastic season if you take that away. Like, I think the expectations for Mahomes are way too high. So for this offense, they just need to continue driving the ball down the field. And if they do that, I think, and they continue driving the ball down the field, don't turn the ball over, I think it's going to be very hard for the Titans, because if we get to the Chiefs defense, it played so much better last week. So much better. In the second half, and I know it was Washington. I know. They had Taylor Heineke. Their offense isn't necessarily the best. But man, against, Washington, I was very glad to see, Juan Thornhill's in there. Snead's playing a good game. Obviously, Honey Badger's always playing well. Fenton, I think he's playing well. He's ranked number 2 on PFF, which I don't know if I would agree with that, because I've actually watched him play. But man, this Chiefs secondary is fantastic. And then they get Ward back, who I think has struggled a lot during times, but he's also been very solid at times. So in the secondary for the Chiefs, I think the secondary is actually fine. So I mean, if they're going to go into the draft next year and they need to fix anything on defense, maybe fix the linebackers first, because at least because I think the defensive line it's not good. It can't generate a pass rush, but I think because the linebackers can't tackle. But with Anthony Hitchens out, you're going to see more Willie Gay and Nick Bolton, who I think both of those played very good last week. I think they added them for more speed, and the speed in which this defense played, I think, definitely showed in that second half that playing with speed definitely helped. And then, so for them playing the Titans, they're going to have to make Tannehill throw the ball. Now, to do that, they're first going to have to contain Derrick Henry, which is a lot easier said than done. But if they can get the Titans into throwing situations, maybe, get the Titans to, get a penalty, like a holding penalty or false start, or, even get Derrick Henry once or twice for a tackle for loss. Make them get into second and 11 and then third and 11. Make them have to throw the ball because Tannehill isn't the most consistent quarterback when he's throwing it. I think that would be a very good way for the Chiefs to win this game. And then with the Titans having injuries on the offensive line, I hate injuries. I'm not downplaying it. Actually, this is praise on the Titans offensive line because injuries suck and it takes you guys out of the game. But like with Clark, he needs to show up with the injury. Chris Jones should be playing this week. And if I was Spags, I would move Chris Jones right back into the middle of the defensive line, have Chris Jones in the middle, and have Frank Clark and Mike Dana on the outsides. Because I think that'll have speed because Mike Dana, is a relatively quick. I wouldn't say he's the best, but I think he leads the team in sacks right now. So I think if they do that, that'll help generate some more pressure. Putting Chris Jones back on the inside will help with the run defense. And I think Willie Gay and Nick Bolton are very solid linebackers that I think that'll help them, stop the run. Now, do I think it's going to, you're going to stop Derrick Henry? No, but containing them is going to help. He's probably still going to rush for 100 yards, which is fine. I mean, it sucks, but it's going to happen. But if they can just, make Tannehill throw, where he can struggle, he's not the most consistent. I think this is a game to show that this defense is legit because if they make him throw, that secondary, like I said, Juan Thornhill and Honey Badger, and definitely the safeties, I think are a very good tandem. So this game is going to be very interesting. I think, both teams are going to put up a lot of points because the Chiefs offense is good and then the Chiefs defense is bad. I mean, if you think about it, it's really the Chiefs that are going to dictate the way this game goes, and then obviously Derrick Henry can run the ball, which I think he's the MVP favorite, but just as a football fan and as a Chiefs fan, I'm really excited for this game.